Keir Starmer, the Labour Party leader, is in the eye of a growing political storm, and the fallout from it could change the future of Britain. Accused of pushing a dangerous socialistic control agenda and receiving scandalous gifts from wealthy donors, Starmer finds himself facing fierce criticism not only from his opposition but from within his own party. Leading the charge against him is Tugendhat, a prominent Conservative figure who claims that Starmer's government is already beginning to dismantle Britain with its agenda. Today we'll dig deep into this explosive political drama, one that threatens to upend British politics as we know it. But first, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to stay informed with more of our content. At the heart of this political firestorm is Keir Starmer's alleged ties to Lord Wahid Ali, a prominent Labour peer and major donor. Tugendhat hasn't held back, claiming that Starmer is a socialist who is taking control away from the British people and concentrating it in the hands of an elite few. The most controversial aspect of this relationship is Starmer's use of Lord Ali's £18 million Soho penthouse, a luxury property that the Labour leader has accessed multiple times, raising questions about what Labour might be giving in return. Recent revelations have only deepened the scandal. New declarations show that Lord Ali has gifted Starmer £32,000 worth of clothing, double what was originally declared, leading to questions about transparency and ethics. The lavishness of these gifts, at a time when many Britons are struggling with the cost of living, has caused an uproar. Tugendhat, keen to capitalise on this growing discontent, argued that this isn't socialism for the people, but a thinly veiled transfer of power from the masses to the elite. Tugendhat, speaking at the Conservative Party conference, doubled down on his claim that Starmer's leadership is already eroding Britain's foundations. In his view, the Labour leader is implementing socialist policies that, rather than empowering ordinary citizens, are designed to centralise power in the hands of a privileged few. Socialism means taking control from you and giving it to them, Tugendhat declared in a fiery speech, warning that Starmer's Britain is one where the state will have the final say over people's lives. But this isn't just about state control. It's also about the ethics of Labour's leadership. The scandal around Lord Ali's donations and Starmer's acceptance of gifts isn't just a story of luxury living. It cuts to the heart of questions about political integrity. If Starmer is willing to accept such lavish gifts, what else might Labour be willing to compromise? For many, this is the real concern. What do these gifts say about the party's commitment to transparency and its claim to represent the working class? Tugendhat wasn't done yet. He went on to make a bold pitch to be the next Conservative Party leader, arguing that while the Tories need reform, they remain the only party focused on trust and delivery for the British people. His vision includes building more houses, investing in cheaper energy, and pushing forward a conservative revolution that he says will restore freedom and opportunity to Britain. "That's why I'm focusing on leadership and trust," Tugendhat declared, positioning himself as the future of Conservative leadership, ready to take on Starmer and Labour's socialist agenda in the next election. Tugendhat also faced questions about his lack of experience in government compared to some of his rivals. But rather than shy away from this, he leaned into his military background, arguing that his service in Iraq and Afghanistan has equipped him with the leadership skills needed to guide Britain through difficult times. His message was clear. Leadership isn't about experience in government, but about character and vision. Tugendhat painted himself as the leader who could provide both, contrasting his frontline military service with what he sees as the bureaucratic and out-of-touch nature of the current political establishment. While Starmer battles Tugendhat's accusations, Labour is dealing with another major controversy, this time involving Foreign Secretary David Lammy. At the recent United Nations General Assembly in New York, Lammy delivered a speech that focused heavily on his African heritage, drawing parallels between his ancestors' experience of slavery and modern-day imperialism. While Lammy's words struck a chord with some, they provoked a furious backlash from Conservative MP James Cleverly, who accused Lammy of making the speech all about himself rather than focusing on pressing global issues like the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Cleverly's criticism is part of a broader Conservative attack on what they describe as Labour's obsession with identity politics. According to Cleverly, Labour is more concerned with scoring political points through symbolic gestures than tackling real issues that affect everyday Britons. This, he argues, is a major distraction from the key global issues facing the UK. It's all about David, Cleverly said, fuming that Labour's leadership is stuck in a loop of tokenistic identity politics that alienates voters. The contrast, Cleverly says, couldn't be clearer. While Labour focuses on performative politics, the Conservatives are getting on with the job of governing. This is where the battle over identity politics becomes more than just a philosophical debate. It's a fight for the soul of British politics. Labour's critics argue that the party's focus on race and diversity, while important, has become a distraction from the more urgent issues facing the country. Cleverly pointed out that the Conservatives have already broken barriers with 3 female prime ministers, the first Asian prime minister, and the first black foreign secretary, accomplishments Labour can't match despite its rhetoric on diversity. Cleverly's scathing attack on Lammy, and by extension the entire Labour leadership, didn't stop at identity politics. He went on to argue that Starmer's government is fundamentally lacking in vision. According to Cleverly, Labour has spent its first few months in power floundering, with no clear direction or strategy. They don't have a vision, they don't have a philosophy, and they don't have a plan, Cleverly remarked, painting Labour's leadership as inept and hypocritical. What makes this critique even more damaging for Starmer is that it taps into a growing sentiment among voters, disillusionment with Labour's leadership. Many who supported Labour in the last election feel let down by the lack of concrete action and the growing number of scandals. The disconnect between Labour's promises and its performance in government is becoming harder to ignore, and Cleverly's attack capitalises on that dissatisfaction. The double-barrelled attack from Tom Tugendhat and James Cleverly has left Labour reeling. Starmer's leadership, already under pressure from internal dissent and external criticism, now faces a full-blown crisis. With Tugendhat warning of the dangers of socialist control and Cleverly hammering Labour for its focus on identity politics, the party is struggling to maintain its credibility. What's worse for Starmer is that these scandals aren't isolated incidents. The controversy surrounding Lord Wahid Ali's donations, the lavish gifts, and the use of luxury properties has fed into a growing narrative of hypocrisy within Labour's ranks. Critics argue that Labour, a party that claims to stand for the working class, is out of touch with the very people it seeks to represent. The growing disconnect between Labour's rhetoric and its actions could have severe consequences for the party's future. Tugendhat and Cleverly have both made it clear. This isn't just about political gamesmanship, it's about the future of Britain. Tugendhat's dire warnings about state control and Cleverly's critique of Labour's identity politics have resonated with voters who are concerned about the direction the country is heading. As the next election looms on the horizon, the stakes have never been higher. Keir Starmer, for all his promises of reform and renewal, is now fighting a battle on multiple fronts. Will he be able to weather this storm and rebuild trust in his leadership? Or will the scandals and accusations of hypocrisy ultimately prove too much for him to overcome? The fate of the Labour Party, and perhaps even the future of Britain, hangs in the balance.